Hi, I'm Celia Quartermain and I'm going to read you the first chapter of my first novel, which is called My Mother's Barrow. I find myself thinking a lot about the Barrow these days. Waves of green are waiting for me when I wake up in the morning. The shadow of an old tree dips behind my eyes when I fall asleep at night. The smell of salty earth prickles my nose when I'm drinking tea, stroking my cat, or just staring out of the window. I have to admit it's becoming an obsession. It's the way it disguises itself, I think. Its dark secrets masked by the comforting patchwork of the fields all around. But it's not gigantic as it swells up behind the gate, more like the shoulder of something sleeping, hunched like a living thing under a camouflage of green grazing grass, looking steep and strong and constant, as if it too were only natural, as if there were nothing man-made about it, as if there was no such thing as grave goods or inheritance, as if the hidden treasures that pepper the mound, like the secrets and lies in a life, were never an attempt to intervene and shape the future. But I've been around, and it doesn't fool me. Looking back, there must have always been clues, but nothing has ever been written down. Not until now, that is. Who would take on that responsibility? I have come to see that, like everything, it's all about context. As you look at it from the road, the Barrow's significance creeps up on you very slowly. You can see where the last gatherings of an old forest straggle on around the base of the hill, like the tall, spindly men hanging round a bar on a Sunday evening, trying to spin out the dregs of the weekend. Then, if you follow the track up from the road, up through those trees, you come to the end of a path. Houses have encroached right up onto the slope there, glossing over everything, making the muck of nature appear to be clean. But if you look carefully, if you peer behind the facade, you can see that the old ways are still there, running insidious behind the gardens of the quiet suburban semis as they keep themselves to themselves and turn their veiled, curtained eyes to the world. And if you get past all of that and continue south along the long, low mound in the groove that runs up from the west, you'll find yourself at the start of a flourish of glacial graffiti that draws you right up to the tip of the hill and the base of the ancient tumulus. It's not a big thing. But from here, the whole of the bay is beginning to be visible as the sea slides in glimpses through gaps in the horizon. And then, if you take a few more steps, there it is, right in front of your face, the wide view of an ancient heroic burial place, pulling you all the way back in time and then catapulting you forward into the future. It's awesome. I can tell you that when you're actually standing there, and it's not just in your head, it's the age of the place that gets to you. You can think of yourself sitting on a bit of folklore and be confident that whatever else may let you down, at some point every barrow is a mysterious place with precious things inside. The way in is always dark and narrow, and at the heart of the tomb a monstrous scaly creature guards the hoard. I knew it before I saw it for myself, because that was what the story said. And you find yourself thinking that perhaps in this barrow the dragon is still there, deep inside the hill. Or perhaps it was unleashed hundreds of years ago, when this last resting place was first bought and sold like a chattel. All I know is that this little bit of land is my mother's treasure. A bargaining chip in every squabble, a thing to be wielded, to be offered and taken away again, to be made legend over and over again with each new version of the truth. But enough of all that. There'll be no speaking ill of the dead here. Just bear in mind that sometimes from the top of the hill, looking out from the barrow, you can see black dots in the far distance, moving across the muddy yellow sands like ants on a mission. I understand that the walk across the bay at low tide has always been a unique and hazardous experience. Deep under the beach, 3 tidal rivers turn the sand into a danger zone, but that doesn't stop anyone. This is a journey that tempts people on 2 fronts. It's all about excitement and history as they try to join the myth and defeat the danger in one epic trek. And neither have the warning signs ever stopped entrepreneurs. Ever since the Celts first looked out at the bay from the Barrow, through all those years when the land around was absorbing wave after wave of migrants, successive scraps of humanity have clawed a living out of that mud. If you could scan the sand for corpses these days, how many shrimpers and cockle pickers would you find sunk beneath the Swallow of Moat Bank? One thing of which I am sure is that in the evolution of economic necessity, going back over generations, the seabed harvesters have in some ways changed and in some ways stayed the same. Workers have transformed from the old and ill and orphaned into the poor, displaced and deluded. But it's still the small change of human currency, those silently choking at the bottom of the pocket of the global economy who look to the fruits of the bay and hope for a better life. For some way out. Any way out. Because if you were to take a walk in the wet, salt-soaked shoes of these people, you would find it possible to imagine that to sink into the sand would be a tragedy, but it would also be a release. And if you could x-ray this golden sludge now, there they would still all be, in their splendid variety, a suspended animation across the centuries, contorted like a corps of dancers, still joyfully scrabbling to escape the escape. Meanwhile, up on the brow of the hill, an old tree stands, bent into a stoop by relentless years of weather and the warring of winter winds off the sea. Night after night now, it listens to the faint hiss of traffic that fills the air like the songs of tropical frogs, singing the whole of Liverpool on its way home for the night. In the dark of my mind, as I stand now on the top of the Barrow, I can follow those queues of cars, moving like torches through the distance, and watch as the lights from row after row of houses flick on to brighten the ordinary little lives of the people inside. And as I do, the only thing I know as I try to understand it all is that my mother was a landowner, and that was important. And this is my mother's Barrow.